Hello, hi everyone. Good day. So today we're going to be doing something different today. So what we have right now is our Git just on the local system, but it's not cool just having it there except you're working alone. You're not working with a group of people. But even when you're working alone, it's also advised that you have your code saved somewhere else. So if something happens to your system, then you'll be able to retrieve it. Apart from that, if you're working with a group of people too, they'll be able to have access to your code. And then you can also share your code with the public if you want everyone to see what you're doing. So here are some of the usefulness of GitHub. And today we'll be taking this project that we have here and we'll be putting it on GitHub. That's the purpose of this particular class. That's all we are just going to be doing today. So the first thing I'll need to do is to go to GitHub. You can see that I'm already logged into my GitHub account here. Yeah, this is my username. This is my GitHub account. I created it specifically for this class. I think when I'm done with it, I might close this particular account. So this is my GitHub. I have two projects here, but we will not be working with any of these ones. So what I have to do now is to click on this, right? Click on new repository. I'm going to click on new repository and then I'll follow the prompts. I'm going to call this project animals, and it's going to be available since I haven't used that before, and I can choose to write what this project is about, which I won't do right now. The next thing I need to do, should it be public or private? Since I want people to be able to see this, I'll keep this public so anyone on the internet can see this repository. Okay, you can choose who can commit. I don't want it to be private. If I want it private, that means from what you can see, you choose who can see and commit to this repository. So it's not going to be accessible to the public, but then you can actually configure it in such a way that a particular set of people can, or some individuals can be able to add to be able to commit to this repository. But for this demonstration purpose, I'm just going to be leaving it as public. Do I want a readme file here? I don't want to be checking none of this right now, because I already have a project on my system and I don't want to create any file on GitHub. But if I didn't have anything on my system to start with, I probably will click on that and click on some of these things, but I'm just going to ignore this and this. I'll scroll down to create repository. So what I'm doing right here is that I already have my project on my system. I already have Git on that project, but then I want to save my project. I want to send it to a remote repository. So when we talk about remote repository, we're talking about stuff like GitHub, we're talking about Bitbucket, we're talking about GitLab. Those are remote repository. Right now, where I have it on my local repository. So I'm going to click on create repository and I'll continue with the steps. Now I've clicked on that and my repository is set up. But there are a couple of things I need to do. So I have these steps here. It says if this was a new repository, like I don't have anything on my system, I can actually run this particular set of code. But if I already have something and I would like to actually push it, I'm going to use this one, right? We can kindly ignore the third option. So we're going to be using the second option here. We'll be taking each line by line. So the first step of what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking each line. I'm just going to be taking each line and be pushing it from my I'll be pushing that from the command line here. So I'm going to open my terminal, click on new terminal. So my terminal is up already. I'll go to GitHub, I'll copy the first line, and then I'll paste it. So this line says git remote add origin, and then my repository that was just created right now. So this is me adding that I want to be able to connect to this particular remote server, and the name of this remote server is going to be called origin. So this is the main command here, git remote add. Now I'm going to give a name for what I want to add, and by convention we see most people using origin, so I'm going to go ahead and use origin. And then that origin, I'm going to set it to our git link, the URL for our git. So I'm going to push enter, like I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. And so when I run git remote -v, I'm going to see that my origin has been set for the fetch and for the push. So if I want to push my code, or if I want to fetch my code, I have set the origin already to I've added the remote repository and I've named it origin, and that origin is set to git at github.com:/amobilbikobe/animals.git. So I'm done with that first part. Now this is the second thing I want to do. So remember when I talked about, in our previous classes, I talked about master branch, and like that nobody really uses master branch because we don't want to use words that are derogatory to some set of people, saying like using stuff like master and slave and the rest. So most people, instead of using master branch, have decided to use main branch. So this git branch -m main, what it's going to do for us is that it's going to modify our current branch from whatever name it is to main. So when I run this particular command, instead of having master branch here, I should have main branch. So this is a command if we want to actually rename our branch. So I'm going to hit enter again. Then you can see almost instantly that changed to main. And if I run a git branch command, I can see we only have two branches, main and feature omnivorous branch. Okay. Now the next thing I need to do is to push my code. So I'm going to be using this command to push my code for the first time, because this is the first time I'm actually doing this. I'm going to be adding the -u flag, which is the upstream, and I'm setting that whatever is on the remote, I want the remote and the local branch to both be main. So if I have a main branch here in my local repository, I also want to have a main branch in my remote repository. Remember that our repository is the origin of our repository, the remote origin. We've already named it. The remote has already been named origin. We did a git remote add and then we named it origin. So here we are going to call that origin. We don't need to actually put the git wherever. Is the origin that we are calling. and then we are telling it that we want to push the main branch. We want to push the main branch. So I'm going to do a git push minus u origin main, and I will hit enter. And then we can see that it says a whole bunch of stuff, and it says like new branch main to main, and you can see this message here says branch main set up to track origin main. So origin main is actually the name of our remote repository. Why? This main is our local branch here, and now they've been synced together. So anytime we want to push a code from here, take for instance, I'm going to just I don't know what can I do. Let's say I take away fish. If I remove fish and I do a git add and I do a git commit minus m and I add remove fish. I didn't save this. So if you actually want to set this to or to save, you can go to preference here, you click on file on your VS Code, you go to, sorry, not preference, you go to autosave, you click on that. I think that's it. Yeah, so you can see it's ticked now. Previously it wasn't ticked. So anytime I write any code, it's just going to save it for me. I don't need to press Ctrl S or Command S, as the case may be. So I'm going to do the git add again, and I'm going to do a git commit with my message. Now I have removed the fish. Now I want to push my code. I can just do git push. We are pushing to origin. Now I'm not using the -u flag. We are git push origin and the name of our branch, which is not master again, which is now main branch. I just want to see before we push this if our code is right here on GitHub. Exactly, we can see the previous code we had here. So this changes. This one was made 4 days ago. 4 days ago. We don't have node_modules. This was made 2 weeks ago, which is fine. Now I'm going to push this particular change here. So we can see that it says like we've moved our code to GitHub. You can see that it doesn't say that we've set the upstream. There was nothing like that, so we don't need that -u flag this time around. We can just do a git push origin main. You will notice that node_modules didn't go and .env file too didn't go, but when we have it here, like none of those stuff are here. If I refresh this, you're going to see a new change on our info.txt file, because we just made that change now. Remember, right here we have 4 days ago. When I refresh this, so this is the refreshed page, and we can see that this was updated 3 minutes ago. We can even see I changed 2 files. We can even see our commit message, right? The particular commit message that we had when we made those changes. Now these are my commits. I have 9 commits already. I can click on that and see who made the change. You can see my username here on GitHub. And this was when I made that particular change. You can view it, and then I can go back. Remember, I only pushed 1 branch, so I only have the main branch here. I don't currently have the feature omnivorous branch. I can decide to push that as well. So to push that as well, we can still use that same command, the git push -u, but I want to do that without the -u so that you see um, what happens if we don't use the -u command. So I can do the feature omnivorous branch and then hit enter, git push origin feature omnivorous branch. Okay, so it's already pushed that. We have new branch feature omnivorous. Let me refresh our GitHub. So I have two branches. I have omnivorous branch. I want to check out to that omnivorous branch, make a change and then push it. So I'll do a git check out feature omnivorous. I'm going to remove the fish also. And I'm going to do a git add dot and a git commit minus m and remove fish. Is that fish or fishes? Do a control Z. Okay, we just have fish, not fishes. I don't know why I did that. Okay. Okay, this time around I'll use a hold on. I'll use a git push. So it says the current branch feature omnivorous has no upstream branch. To push the current branch and set the remote as upstream, use git push set upstream origin. You can see that we have this kind of issue when we don't we didn't use the -u flag to set the upstream. To have this happen automatically for branches without a tracking upstream, see whatever that is. So let me see if I can use the -u flag to set the upstream. And now that worked for us. I'm going to put the fish back and then I'm going to use that git push command alone this time around, since we've been able to set the upstream successfully. So I'll have the fish back and I'm going to do a git add again and a git commit and add fish, and now I'm going to do a git push. So I'm using just git push. I'm not even using git push origin feature omnivorous. I'm using git push. If you notice on VS Code, you can see that we have one that's showing like one needs to go up, nothing is coming down. So it's telling us that we need to push. I could actually click on this and then just push, but since I want to run the command, I just use git push. Now, because we've set the upstream, we can just run git push and then our code is just going to go. So anytime you have like a new branch and you want to run it from the command line, you should use the -u flag for the first time to set the upstream. Then subsequently, you don't even need to add the name of the origin. You don't need to add the origin and then the name of the branch. When you're on that current branch, you can just do git push and then it's going to push that branch. So if I refresh this, we already have our change there. What we just need to do is to select the feature omnivorous branch and then we can see those changes there. You can see that we added fish back, we add fish So there's now fish there. You can look at the history of this particular file. We first of all we added omnivorous animals. We removed fish 3 minutes ago, and then we added fish back 1 minute ago. So these are the things that we need when we are working with Git, and then we want to push our code from our local repository to our remote repository. Ciao.